Derivative works 1. Importance. Derivative works refer to new works that are created based on the transformation of a precedent work. Article 5 Section 1 of the Korean copyright law states that creative works produced by the means of translation, arrangement, alteration, dramatization, cinematization, etc. of an original work shall be protected as independent works. Derivative works are accepted as independent works and therefore are protected individually from the original work. But, as the derivative work utilizes the original work, Article 5 Section 2 states that the protection of the derivative work shall not affect the right of the author of the original work. 2. Requirements. A dependency on precedent works. Dependent relationship. Derivative works are works that add original expression into existing works. Thus, works that are not based on precedent works are not derivative works. 2 independent but identical works are not derivative works as the cause of the alikeness is due to either coincidence or the use of a common idea. For a work to become a derivative work, the basis of the subsequent work must be the original expression used in the precedent work. Hence, works that solely adopt non-original expressions, such as ideas, plots, and themes, are not derivative works. B. Addition of original expression. Substantial variation. As derivative works are protected as an individual copyright, works are required to have originality similar to that of ordinary works protected by copyright. Copyright in derivative works can only be established when the originality of the precedent work merges with the originality of the subsequent work. The expiration of copy protection of the original work does not affect the establishment of copyright for derivative works. Hence, copyrights can be established on derivative works regardless of the status of the original work. Although derivative works must be based on existing works, the dependency of the subsequent work does not refer to simple revisions and modifications. The addition of original expressions must be understood as standard that requires substantial variation. The variation of precedent work must be substantial enough to be accepted as a separate copyright. Therefore, minor variations such as the correction of punctuation and spellings and modification of terms are not derivative works but are reproductions of an existing work. C. Presence of substantial similarity. To be established as a derivative work, the work must have inherent characteristics of dependency and substantial variation. But, together with substantial variation, the work must also adopt the original expression of the precedent work, and the adoption must be directly perceivable. In other words, if the variation cannot be perceived as an adoption of the original expression, even though it is based on the precedent work, it is determined as a completely different and independent work. The question on how to differentiate the substantiality of the variation to determine whether the work is a derivative work or an independent work is a rigorous task. 2 approaches exist in differentiating the substantiality of the variation. The first approach bases its standard on whether the variation can be perceived as an adoption of the precedent work, while the second approach bases its standard on whether a substantial similarity exists between the two works. In both approaches, if the standard is met, it is determined as a derivative work. D. Consent of the original author. The consent of the original author is not requisite for being established as a derivative work, regardless of the permission of the original author. The derivative work can be protected by copyright, but if the copyright protection has not expired on the precedent work, the author of the derivative work is liable for the infringement of the derivative work's right, which is under the property rights of the author of original work. 2. Compilation works. 1. Overview. A. Significance. As compilation works are protected under Article 6, it is important to determine which works can be established as compilation works. According to Article 2, Section 17 of the Korean copyright law, the term compilation is defined as a collection of works or symbols, letters, sounds, images, data in other forms, and databases. while Section 18 states that compilation works are compilations which are creative in terms of selection and arrangement. The term databases is clarified separately under Section 19 and states that it is a compilation of which materials are arranged or composed in a systematic way, allowing for such materials to be individually accessible or searchable. The protection of compilation works as an individual copyright does not refer to the protection of multiple works involved in the compilation work, but conveys that the compilation is protected as a whole. As an example, a magazine is composed of multiple copyright works, novels and essays, and non-copyright works, simple information. But regardless of the amount of novels, essays, and information included, the magazine is protected as a single copyright. Encyclopedias, phrase books, dictionaries, calendars, literature collections, case reports, newspapers, thesaurus, and yellow books are typical examples of compilation works. Only compilations including originality are compilation works protected by copyright. Consequently, for a work to be established, originality is required similar to that of ordinary works. However, originality here can be differentiated from ordinary works as the originality referred to is based on the selection, arrangement, and composition. Databases do not require originality, but instead must be inherent of systematic characteristics in the arrangement and composition of data. In copyright, originality is referred to as individual effort and minimum level of creativity, while systematic is referred to as the accessibility of the data and the convenience and efficiency of the search. Thus, a work with no originality in the selection and arrangement of data can be accepted as a database if the absence of originality has occurred due to the procurement of convenience, as it can be determined as a systematic arrangement and composition. A database can be protected as a compilation work if originality is included into the systematic arrangement and composition. In such cases, the author shall hold rights related to both compilation works and database. Cases denying the establishment of compilation works. Case on legal notes. The legal notes created by the plaintiff may allow the reader to conveniently search matters related to judicial bodies and litigations, but functionality of the note itself cannot be accepted as an original expression. Usefulness does not immediately result to creativity, which is a requisite for compilation works. The information and data included in the notes can easily be found in materials distributed by judicial bodies and existing law books. Thus, it can be inferred that any individual seeking to create similar notes for legal professionals will arrange and compile the notes in the same or similar fashion. As similar materials already utilize the compilation methods found in the plaintiff's notes, it is evident that the composition and function of the plaintiff's notes and the sequence of reference materials are standard compilation methods. As the sequence of the materials does not represent the plaintiff's creativity, and as the arrangement and selection cannot be determined to hold originality, the note cannot be accepted as a compilation work. Case on auction and bidding booklet. The Korean auction and bidding booklet bases its information on announcements provided in the bulletin board of courts and daily newspapers. In addition to such, it also includes information based on auction history and certified registrars. The booklet summarizes and extracts important auction information and documental information, such as auction case number, location, type, size, the minimum auction price, date of construction, number of residents, leasehold deposits, rental information, appraisal value, auction results, and changes in ownership. Thus, the booklet can be protected as a compilation work as it is determined to hold originality in the selection and arrangement of information.